Hi everyone, welcome to this video where we will be discussing truth conditional semantics. So in previous videos we discussed the focus of our discussion was mainly on lexical semantics, and this is the meaning of words, individual words. So we discussed different theories of word meaning, like the theory of reference, the theory of sense, the theory of prototypes, and also the kind of meaning we find in dictionaries for individual words. We also discussed semantic change again of individual words, and we discussed 4 different types of semantic changes that words or that occur to words usually. Today we'll continue our discussion, but we'll move to sentential or phrasal semantics. So this is, of course, as the name suggests, semantics of the meaning of individual sentences or different sentences and the different relations that exist between 2 or more sentences. So the focus of today's class is what is called truth conditional semantics. And truth conditional semantics refers to a theory of meaning that takes semantic knowledge of knowing when sentences are true or false as basic. And I'd like to draw your attention to this concept of knowing when sentences are true or false. So truth conditional semantics has to do with the meaning of sentences and not individual words, and thus it falls under sentential or phrasal semantics, like I've just mentioned. So truth conditional semantics is the study of conditions under which a statement can be judged as true or false, and this is what I'll be explaining in the coming few slides. So today we will be discussing 2 types of meaning within sentences, of sentences or within sentences. The first type of meaning is the meaning present within individual sentences, while the other type of meaning is actually different types of meaning relations that exist or hold between sentences. So let's move on to discuss truth conditions within individual sentences. So let me start by asking you to determine whether the following sentences are true or false. So the first sentence is Mohamed Salah plays for Liverpool. The second sentence is Nancy Agram is Syrian. So I'd like you to think about these 2 sentences. What do you think? Do you think they are true or false? So probably you will think that the first sentence is true, while the second sentence is false, because you know that this singer is Lebanese and not Syrian. Now, if I ask you, how did you determine the truth of both sentences? How did you determine if these sentences are true or false? How did you know the meaning of these sentences? So knowing the meaning of a sentence informs speakers as to how to determine the truth values. In other words, knowing the meaning of a sentence, let's say that knowing the meaning of the first sentence means or entails knowing its truth conditions. So you understand the meaning of the first sentence because you were able to determine whether it's true or false. So you were able to decide under what condition is the sentence true or false. Now, how did you come up with this conclusion that the first sentence is true while the second sentence is false? First, we understood the meaning of the sentences, like the meaning of the individual words put up together. So we know what plays mean, we know who Mohamed Salah is, we know what Liverpool is, and so on. Then we evaluated the truth value of the sentences, which means that we thought about or we evaluated the conditions under which these sentences are true or false according to the real world or according to some background non-linguistic knowledge or criteria that we already have. So again, let me ask you to determine the truth value of the following sentences. That is, determine whether the following statements are true or false. The first sentence is, a bachelor is an unmarried man. The second sentence is, a bachelor is a married man. The third sentence is, my neighbor Omar is married. So, are you able to decide whether these statements are true or false? Probably you were able to do that for the first two sentences. So, a bachelor is an unmarried man. Yes. A bachelor is a married man. This sentence is false. Whereas the third sentence, my neighbor Omar is married, probably you were unable to determine whether the statement is true or false because you need some extra background information, you need some non-linguistic information to be able to determine the truth value of the third sentence. So these three sentences present three different types of meaning that exist within individual sentences. So the first sentence, a bachelor is an unmarried man, is called a tautology or an analytic sentence. That is, this sentence is true regardless of any external circumstance. While the second sentence, a bachelor is a married man, is an example of contradictions because a bachelor man is necessarily unmarried, because the meaning of bachelor entails, or one of the semantic features of the meaning of bachelor or the word bachelor is plus single, so this person is not married. As for the third sentence, which we were unable to determine its truth value, the third sentence is known or falls under the category of propositions. That is to say, it's a proposition. We don't know if it's 100% true or it's a contradiction. We don't know if it's a tautology or a contradiction. We need some more information to be able to determine the truth value of this proposition. So let's discuss tautologies in details. What are tautologies? So a restricted number of sentences are indeed always true regardless of the circumstances. These sentences are called tautologies. Sometimes the term analytic or linguistic truth, these terms are sometimes used for such sentences. Examples are circles are round. Also another example is the one we just discussed. A bachelor man is unmarried. A person who is single is not married. Here's another example of a tautology. So we don't actually need to check on the outside word. We don't need any extra non-linguistic background information to verify the truth of these sentences. So the truth of these sentences lie within the sentence itself. Now let's discuss contradictions. So similarly, similar to tautologies, some sentences are always false. These sentences are known as contradictions. So contradictions are sentences that are false, again, regardless of any external circumstances. So the sentences that are false by virtue of their meaning alone, irrespective of any context. Let's see some examples. Circles are square. So we don't need any extra non-linguistic background information for us to determine the truth value of this sentence, because we can determine just by reading the sentence, we can determine that this sentence is false. Again, kings are female. We don't need any extra information because we know that one of the semantic features of king is plus male, while the sentence states that kings are female. So this sentence must be false. It must be a contradiction. Again, an example that we just discussed, a bachelor is married, again. So now let's discuss propositions. So now we have a couple of sentences, which are China is the most populous city in the world and Tanta is the most populous city in Egypt. So as you could see, these two sentences, we cannot, without any non-linguistic background information, we cannot determine their truth value. Of course, any proposition or all propositions have truth value, so they could be true or false. But generally, we are unable to determine their truth value without some extra background information. So far we discussed 3 different types of meanings that exist within individual sentences. The first one is a tautology, and we mentioned that a tautology is always true. The truth value of a tautology is that it's always true, regardless of any external circumstances. An example is a bachelor is an unmarried man. The second type of meaning we discussed is contradictions, and we mentioned that the truth value of contradictions is that they are always false regardless of any external circumstances. An example was a bachelor is a married man, kings are female, circles are square. And the third type of meaning that exists within a specific an individual sentence is that the sentence is probably a proposition, and that's probably for the majority of sentences in any language, which means that the truth, a proposition has a truth value which depends on truth conditions. So it depends on the conditions that a speaker needs to examine or evaluate, and according to which a speaker can determine whether the proposition is true or false. So far we discussed 3 different types of meaning that exist within individual sentences. Now we'll move on to discuss different types of meaning relations that exist within or between different sentences. So let me start by asking you, what meaning relation can be inferred from the following sentences? There are tulips in the garden. There are flowers in the garden. Amira visited Spain. Amira visited Europe. So please pause the video and try to think of the meaning relations that exist between the first and second pair of sentences and the third and fourth pair of sentences. So knowing that tulips are actually a type of flowers, so if the first sentence is true, then the second sentence must also be true. As for the third and fourth sentence, knowing that Spain exists in Europe, so if the first sentence is true, the second sentence must be true. So as speakers of a language, we are aware that two statements may be related in such a way that if one is true, the other must also be true. So these pairs of sentences are examples of entailment. So assuming that A and B are about the same garden, the truth of A entails the truth of B. That is, if A is true, so if the first sentence is true, the second must also be true. So if the first is true, the second must be true, and these sentences basically demonstrate the relationship of entailment that exists between 2 sentences. So the first sentence entails the second sentence. Amira visited Spain entails that Amira visited Europe. So let me ask you another question. If the sentence Horiya's dog is cute, if this sentence is true, does this mean that the sentence Horiya has a dog is true? Another question. If the sentence Hagar is a student at the Faculty of Arts is true, if this sentence is true, does this mean that Hagar attends university? Does this mean that Hagar attends university is true? Yes. So in the first example, Horiya's dog is cute entails that Horiya has a dog. So the first sentence is true. If the first sentence is true, the second sentence is true as well. Again, for the second pair of sentences, if the sentence Hagar is a student at the Faculty of Arts is true, then it entails that Hagar attends university. So Hagar attends university is also true. Now my question to you, can it go the other way around? So can we say that Horiya has a dog entails that Horiya's dog is cute? Again, if Hagar attends university is true, does this mean that the sentence Hagar is a student at the Faculty of Arts is true? The answer is no. Horiya has a dog does not entail that Horeya's dog is cute. Maybe she has a dog, but maybe her dog is not cute. Again, the same thing in the second pair of sentences. Hagar attends university. Even if this sentence is true, it does not entail that she is a student at the Faculty of Arts, because maybe she attends university, but she attends or goes to another faculty or another school. So we conclude that entailment goes only in one direction. So Horeya's dog is cute entails Horeya has a dog, but the reverse is not true. Again, we can think of the same concept with the sentences we just discussed earlier. There are tulips in the garden entails that there are flowers in the garden, but the reverse is not true. There are flowers in the garden does not necessarily entail that there are tulips in the garden. Same thing, Amira visited Spain entails that she visited Europe, but maybe if we say that Amira visited Europe, it doesn't necessarily entail that she visited Spain. So again, let's now discuss another meaning relation that exists between sentences. So in the following sentences, pause the video and try to think which sentences have the same meaning. You've probably guessed it right. The first and the second sentences have the same meaning, while the third and the fourth sentence have the same meaning. So which sentences entail each other? Again, the first two sentences entail each other. So Rebecca got home before Robert entails that Robert arrived at home after Rebecca. Again, in the second couple of sentences, Robert got home before Rebecca entails that Rebecca got home later than Robert. So these two sentences, the first two sentences are actually synonymous. They are also paraphrases of each other and they entail each other. So the sentences are paraphrases of each other. They are synonymous. So when two sentences are synonymous, they also entail each other. So when two sentences are synonymous, they are paraphrases of each other and they entail each other. And as speakers of a language, we are generally able to agree as to when two sentences have essentially the same meaning and when they don't. Now let's consider the following sentences. Edgar is married. Edgar is fairly rich. Edgar is no longer young. Edgar is a bachelor. So which sentences are opposite in meaning, you think? You guessed it right. Edgar is married and Edgar is a bachelor. These two sentences are contradictions. So the truth of one sentence necessarily implies the falseness of another. Now let's discuss the following sentences. The door is closed. The door is open. Jack is alive. Jack is dead. So my question to you is, do you think it's possible to combine both sentences with a conjunction like and? Is it possible to say that the door is closed and the door is open? Or that Jack is alive and Jack is dead? Of course not. So if two sentences are contradictory, their conjunction with and is a contradiction. Again, we cannot say that Jack is alive and Jack is dead. We can also determine if two sentences are contradictions if one entails the negation of the other. So the door is closed entails that the door is not open. Jack is alive entails that Jack is not dead. So two sentences are contradictory if their conjunction with and is a contradiction, and or of course and or any other conjunction, and they are contradictory if one entails the negation of the other. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. Just as a quick reminder, today our topic was truth conditional semantics, which we defined at the beginning of this presentation as a theory of meaning that takes semantic knowledge of knowing when sentences are true or false as basic. It is the study of conditions under which a statement can be judged as true or false, as we have seen together in this video. So the study of truth conditions in semantics falls into two basic categories. These are the meaning present within individual sentences, and we discussed tautologies, sentences that are always true regardless of the any external circumstances; contradictions, sentences that are false regardless of any external circumstances; and propositions, sentences that are true or false based on some extra non-linguistic knowledge. We also discussed different types of meaning relations that exist between sentences, like entailment, when one sentence entails the other, and we mentioned that entailment goes only in one direction. We discussed synonymy, so that how two sentences can be synonymous or can be paraphrases of each other, and also can entail each other. And we discussed the sentences that are contradictory, in that they cannot be combined with the conjunction and one sentence entails the negation of the other. Here are my references. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Have a nice day. Bye.